The Diplomat and the Betrayal. The Hall of Accord shimmered under a domed field of starlight, a marvel of neutral ground diplomacy constructed at the edge of the galactic center. It was here that the greatest powers of the known universe convened to avoid war. Ornate banners from 1,000 worlds fluttered above the marble-like floor, each representing a civilization once divided by light years, now drawn together by treaties and fragile trust. Ambassador Lyra Miles walked alone into the main chamber, her human delegation staying respectfully behind. Clad in an austere black diplomatic uniform with a single silver crest, the seal of the Terran Union, she moved with calm precision. Her presence was deliberate, chosen to reflect humanity's message. We are here in peace, but we are not small. At 32, Lyra had already become a symbol of Earth's diplomacy. She was sharp, unyielding, and possessed an unspoken strength that unnerved even the most arrogant diplomats. More than once, she'd talked ancient empires down from the edge of war. Her words were weapons, precise and potent. Today, she was meeting with the Thalzar Dominion, the ruling body of the Galactic Empire, a militarized, centuries-old power that viewed most other species, especially upstarts like humanity, as transient annoyances. They'd reluctantly agreed to negotiations after border skirmishes with human outposts threatened to escalate. Earth came offering peace. Lyra had been granted a private audience with High Lord Vrax, an elder of the Dominion and chief negotiator. According to galactic law, she was protected by diplomatic immunity, especially on neutral territory. She carried no weapons. She had no guards. She entered the chamber alone. The doors closed behind her with a finality that made her skin prickle. Vrax stood near a crystalline table, his ceremonial armor reflecting blue firelight. 2 Imperial officers flanked him, more than protocol allowed. "High Lord," Lyra said, bowing slightly, "I come bearing the hopes of billions. May we speak with clarity and respect." Vrax's mandibles clicked. "You speak as if your words matter, Terran," he said. "You believe your race worthy of treaties. You mistake tolerance for weakness." She didn't blink. "We believe in dialogue. That makes us strong." He stepped closer. "No, that makes you pray." Lyra sensed it an instant before it happened. The 2 guards moved in, too fast, too synchronized. Her diplomatic badge emitted a sharp distress pulse, barely audible. She raised her hand to activate her emergency signal, but Vrax struck first. His gauntlet backhanded her with crushing force. She slammed into the table, gasping as her ribs cracked. A boot met her chest. Then another blow, this time from behind. They beat her methodically. Not to kill. Not yet. Just enough to make their point. "You want to join the stars, human?" Vrax hissed. "Then bleed among them." A searing light exploded through the chamber wall. A metallic blur swept through. Captain Rowe, her embedded security AI in humanoid form, tore through the guards with surgical violence. Lyra lay barely conscious as Rowe shielded her, engaging the emergency evacuation drone. "I've got you," Rowe whispered. "Protocol Sigma is live." As they extracted, the station's emergency sirens howled. News feeds across 1,000 systems lit up. Human diplomat assaulted by Empire on neutral station. The footage was raw, brutal, blood on the marble. Vrax standing over her. On Earth, the Sol Defense Council convened within minutes. Across the moon bases, orbiting shipyards, and hollowed asteroid command posts, a single encrypted signal transmitted. "Initiate the Retribution Protocol." The words were not ceremonial. For decades, humanity had prepared for this day. The galaxy would finally see why humans do not fear war. The wrath beneath the veil. The room was silent, save for the hum of deep space sensors and the occasional soft clack of fingers on control surfaces. Admiral Helena Voss stood at the center of the Sol Defense Command's war room, her posture rigid as the holographic display of the Galactic Empire's crest burned red above the table. Across from her, the 12-member Sol Defense Council had already reached consensus. Voss's voice was low, measured, confirming initiation of Retribution Protocol. The AI system responded instantly, calm and emotionless. "Confirmed. Retribution Protocol is now active." authorizing full deployment of classified assets. Temporal warfare grid shifting to wartime priority. Across the solar system, lights change color. On the surface of Europa, a massive crescent buried beneath ice opened like a flower, revealing a city-sized shipyard that hadn't seen movement in 50 years. In the rings of Saturn, long-dormant orbital arrays came to life, transmitting tight-beam commands across hidden networks. Earth's moon darkened as power rerouted to its hidden weapon systems, arrays cloaked in decades of lunar dust and deception. Humanity had never trusted the stars. From the first encounter with alien life, Earth had learned two things. The galaxy was ancient, and it was not kind. While humans outwardly embraced diplomacy, science, and commerce, their leaders had invested in a very different future behind closed doors. That future had a name. Project Retribution. Designed by the most advanced AI human think tanks during the early days of space colonization, the protocol was a contingency, a doctrine of immediate, asymmetrical retaliation should peaceful coexistence ever be met with aggression. It was not a conventional war plan. It was a scalpel soaked in fire, aimed at the heart of any would-be tyrant. Now it had been triggered. Admiral Voss opened a secure line to all 12 fleet marshals stationed across Sol space. You know the parameters. This is not conquest. This is not vengeance. This is surgical justice. The Galactic Empire violated neutral ground, breached interstellar law, and assaulted an unarmed diplomat. We will respond swiftly, decisively, with honor. Yes, Admiral, came the chorus of replies. At the core of Earth's military architecture was the Ghost Fleet, a set of 12 autonomous armadas scattered across uncharted systems, cloaked and silent. Their ships were constructed with dark matter refractive armor, running on quantum AIs paired with veteran human crews trained for black operations. Within hours of activation, the Ghost Fleet emerged. From within asteroid fields and dead systems, the ships launched into folded space, bypassing traditional hyperspace routes entirely. While the Empire would scan for traditional fleet buildup or border movements, humanity's strike force would already be en route to their inner core. Back on Earth, Lyra Miles lay in a medical facility buried deep beneath Geneva. A thin oxygen mask clung to her bruised face. Ribs mended slowly in the regenerator. Her left eye still swollen shut. She stirred at the sound of footsteps. Director Nathan A.O., head of the Terran Diplomatic Corps, entered quietly. "You shouldn't be awake." "I'm not sleeping through this," she rasped, voice hoarse. A.O. sighed, pulling a chair beside her. "You should know. We enacted it." Her gaze sharpened. "Retribution Protocol?" He nodded grimly. "Fleet strikes already in motion. The Empire doesn't know it yet, but by this time tomorrow, their command structure will be in tatters." Lyra turned her head slowly, pain flaring in her spine. "We tried. We gave them every chance." "We did," he said, "and they chose barbarism." She stared at the ceiling for a moment, letting the weight of that truth settle. "Then make sure they understand what they awakened." On the fringe of Empire territory, a Thalzar outpost received a strange reading. Anomalous gravitational spikes near their relay stations. Before they could triangulate the source, the sensors cut to black. A moment later, the relay exploded, cutting their sector off from command. On a border moon garrisoned by 4,000 Imperial troops, the night sky shimmered, then cracked open. A fleet of black ships rained down with pinpoint precision, disabling weapons grids and shielding towers without a single civilian casualty. Each strike was flawless. Each hit followed by a message, transmitted on all bands. "This is the Terran Union. You broke peace. You betrayed the Accord. We do not offer a second warning." The galaxy reeled. Within 12 hours of the protocol's activation, the Empire had lost 3 border systems, 2 command hubs, and 5 fleet formations without a single Terran casualty. No grand speeches. No endless negotiations. Just action. Swift. Surgical. Unmistakable. Humanity had waited patiently among the stars. Now it stood without disguise, and the galaxy would finally understand what it meant when humans came in peace, but left in war. Shock and awe across the stars. The Thalzar Dominion had not lost a war in 6 centuries. They had crushed rebellions, dissolved planetary governments, and scattered resistance fleets across entire sectors. Their doctrine was brutal and efficient, dominance through fear. For most species, one defeat was enough. For the rest, extinction followed. They had never faced humanity unleashed. High Marshal Ikran of the Imperial High Command stood before a flickering star map, his spines twitching in frustration. 9 sectors were dark, entire command relays offline. Fleet signals vanished without trace. His advisors suggested anomalies. He knew better. This is not pirates. This is not insurgents. This is deliberate. He gestured at the map, now full of red fracture points. This is war. Still, he did not understand its shape. No warnings, no ultimatums, no posturing, just silence, followed by devastation. In the Chirones Belt, a fortress world called Branthal served as the Empire's naval production hub. Defensive satellites monitored every vector, manned by hundreds of thousands of workers and soldiers. At 0300 local time, sensors picked up a gravity distortion, a ripple, brief and sharp, too clean for natural origin. Before the alarm could be raised, 5 Terran dreadnoughts emerged from folded space. Their hulls shimmered with quantum cloaking arrays that defied conventional targeting systems. Within minutes, orbital weapons were neutralized with EMP bursts. Communication towers collapsed under precision kinetic strikes. The fleet's AI had mapped the fortress defenses years ago, when Earth was still evaluating peaceful relations. Then the drones dropped. Thousands of metallic spheres descended, sprouting limbs mid-air and deploying non-lethal shock charges across the barracks and factories. Their objective: disable, not kill. Terran forces operated on principle. Civilians were not targets. The entire operation lasted 11 minutes. Branthal was offline by minute 12. The same pattern unfolded across other Empire worlds. On Varix Prime, an Imperial governor was mid-speech when his broadcast was hijacked. His image flickered, replaced by a woman standing tall in front of a Terran flag. Lyra Miles. Bandages still covered parts of her face. One arm hung in a sling. But her voice was clear, steeled by purpose. You attacked peace. You broke sacred ground. We do not seek conquest. We do not kill the innocent. But we do not forget. The broadcast cut. 1 hour later, Varix Prime's shipyard exploded in a chain reaction triggered by nano-infiltrators. The Thalzar court was in disarray. Dozens of noble families demanded retaliation, but there was no enemy to strike. Terran fleets did not hold ground. They did not broadcast location. They struck like ghosts, then vanished. And always, they spared civilians. That restraint terrified the Empire more than brutality ever could, because it meant the Terrans were not acting from rage. They were acting from resolve. In orbit around the Empire's largest colony, Garathis, a lone Terran vessel decloaked. Not a warship, but a courier drone. It transmitted a message to the planetary governor. This world is not a target, but your military base is now forfeit. Evacuate all non-combatants. You have 1 hour. They laughed at first. Then their orbital sensors picked up over 200 quantum phase signatures, circling invisibly above the planet. The base was evacuated in 58 minutes. At the 60-minute mark, the surface buckled. Explosions rippled in perfect geometric sequence, collapsing the base into the mantle, gone without a trace. Still, not one civilian life was lost. The message was unmistakable. Humanity could destroy everything, but chose not to. Back on Earth, Lyra watched the updates from a private chamber in the Geneva Recovery Center. Her body ached. Her mind did not. Director AO entered, handing her a data slate. You're being requested to address the Galactic Assembly. Lyra frowned. Now, they stayed silent when I bled. AO nodded. They've changed their tune. The Thalzar are losing control. The neutral worlds want answers. They see now who keeps to the code of law. She looked out the window at the stars. They were never afraid of us before, she said. Now they understand what we really are. Monsters. Ao asked. No, she replied. Guardians, who waited too long to roar. Across the galaxy, the legend of humanity shifted. No longer seen as naive diplomats or latecomers to the stars, they were now something far more dangerous, principal predators. They didn't burn cities for glory. They didn't erase species for revenge. They struck with restraint, with precision, with terrifying intelligence. And they did it all for a single person, a woman who walked into a meeting unarmed and came out broken but unbowed. The Retribution Protocol was not just military doctrine. It was a statement, and the stars were listening. Balanced through fire, the Galactic Assembly convened an emergency session for the first time in over 2 centuries. Broadcast live across 1,000 systems, it unfolded within the colossal spire of Concord on neutral ground, this time heavily guarded by Terran security forces. The chamber, once a hollow monument to polite inaction, now pulsed with raw tension. The delegates, scaled, feathered, chitinous, and human, were not here to negotiate peace. They were here to survive what peace had failed to protect. At the center stood Ambassador Lyra Miles, no longer in a sling, though faint bruises still framed her jaw. She wore the same black diplomatic uniform, now with medals she never asked for. A thin scar curved beneath her left eye, a permanent record etched in flesh. She spoke without holograms, without prepared notes. Her voice carried the weight of Earth's fury, sharpened by clarity. You all watched as the Thalzar struck me down. You said nothing. Some of you even laughed, thinking humanity would fold, that we were soft. Silence held the chamber in a choke. But humanity does not beg. We do not forget, and we never let cowardice dress itself as strength. Behind her, a holographic map of the Thalzar dominion bloomed, now riddled with red marks. Every fleet lost, every outpost neutralized. Some border sectors had even declared independence, emboldened by Terran strikes. You thought we were new to war, Lyra continued, but Earth was forged in it. Every lesson written in blood. We built peace not because we were weak, but because we knew what we were capable of. The Dernithai representative, a crystalline being known for neutrality, spoke for many. And what is it you want now, Ambassador? Dominion? Control? Lyra shook her head slowly. Balance. Law. Consequences. She turned to the Imperial delegation. They sat half empty, their High Lord absent, their robes sullen with shame. We will not wipe you out, she said, but you will pay reparations. You will demilitarize your outer systems. You will answer for every broken treaty, every violated agreement. Or your empire will fall, not by our hands, but by the weight of your crimes finally exposed. For the first time in living memory, the Empire said nothing in reply, because they had no reply. Weeks passed. Across the galaxy, the Retribution Protocol transitioned into its second phase, de-escalation through oversight. Earth did not seize territory. Instead, they brokered new alliances, strengthened independent worlds, and deployed AI-enforced treaties to monitor violations. On Varix, citizens once raised under the Imperial boot watched as Terran engineers rebuilt damaged infrastructure without charge. On Garathis, the family spared during the Precision Strike petitioned to open permanent embassies with Earth. Terran credibility was no longer theoretical. It was earned in restraint. Back home, Lyra declined every medal offered by the Defense Council. I didn't start this war, she said. I just survived the mistake that did. Still, her survival had become a symbol. School children in distant colonies painted murals of the diplomat who stood alone. Songs were written in backwater mining stations. Her name trended across every known language system. But she didn't seek fame. She sought something far harder. Change. A month later, a new treaty was signed in the very hall where she was once attacked. This time, every power, imperial, independent, neutral, signed it with hands that trembled, not from fear but from awe. The treaty was simple. No diplomat, no neutral envoy, no emissary may ever again be harmed without universal reprisal. It became known as the Lyra Accords, and it passed without opposition. Because now the galaxy understood. In orbit over Earth, aboard the Terran flagship Oathkeeper, Admiral Helena Voss stood beside Lyra, watching the stars. "You changed everything," Voss said, "and you never even fired a shot." "I had Ro to do that," Lyra answered with a faint smirk. Ro, standing silently nearby in polished tactical armor, inclined his head. "Respectfully, Ambassador, I executed the shots. You fired the first weapon, words." Lyra folded her arms, gazed distant. "Do you think they'll remember?" "They'll never forget," Voss said. "And if they ever do, well, that's why we still keep the fleet." Behind them, on the far side of Earth's orbit, the Ghost Fleet remained hidden, quiet, ready, and watching. The stars had changed, but vigilance would remain. Forever.